Welcome to another rendition of Radio Tipping Point. My name is Mike Boyle, and I am very blessed to have Cristiano Bottone with me today. Cristiano, thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome.
A bit of backstory from my side. I stumbled across a video of Cristiano within the transition movement, and it was more or less labeled not for general consumption. So of course that piqued my interest, and so I said I had to watch this, and it was definitely worthwhile. Cristiano was very practical. I felt you were very practical in that video, giving people ideas of how they can actually improve their situation vis-a-vis looking for sponsors, looking for some sort of cooperation, whatever it may be. So again, thank you very much, Cristiano, for joining today. And the first question that I would have for you would be tied to, in life we have very often some sort of aha moment where we realize we need to make a change. I seem to have one every other week. All kidding aside, I'd be very curious to that of what you are involved in today within this. I'm going to call it sustainability. Please feel free to correct me in whatever way that might be. Can you identify and perhaps describe to us what was that aha moment where you realized this is what you need to do?
Yeah, my background is in communication and advertisement. I was the owner of an advertisement agency, and that was my job for 20 years, more or less. That's a very strange position in our system, because you see the world from also from the backstage. So you see the things that everyone can see in TV or magazines. So you see the mainstream from outside, but you have the possibility to see everything also from behind, from the backstage. And if you are curious, you discover a lot on how the system works, because you see all these different companies. I was working for big companies, but also for very small companies. And so I had this general pictures of a system that was slowly crashing. Seeing little glitches, little things accumulating, so this is not good, but also this is not good, but also this other thing is not the way it should be, and so on. And in the end, I had the opportunity to follow the Italian bank systems, so the association of the Italian banks, during the transition to the euro. So I worked for 4 years in the building of the power. I was like a fly on the wall. Counting zero, but I was there. I was seeing, and from first-hand information on how huge decision, huge decision for millions of citizens were taken. And when you have this opportunity, then you start thinking about this system in a completely different way. Because if you stay outside the room of the power, you have all your ideas on how it works. There must be people very clever, or also you may think, oh, there must be very, very naughty people planning for strange things for humanities. And that's not the thing. It's all human. We are all the same at every level. We all work the same way at every level. And then I started to see the world in a completely different manner. And at that time, I had two children. And I started to think, okay, I had to change something. We have a big problem here, and we need to do something. So that was my starting point. It was about the beginning of the century. The years were there. And then for a while, I was just looking around, trying to spot something different, something with a potential power to interfere with the way the system works. And I was quite desperate because knowing so much about all the mechanisms, my feeling was, yes, we have all the mainstream logic, then we have all the I don't know how to call it. Okay, this area where people say we don't like the system, we want to change it. But basically, they were working absolutely the same way, following the same rules. And what I knew was it doesn't work. And we have so many years of people trying to steer the system in a different direction, with no success at all. So for a number of years, I was looking around, meeting people, trying to find, I don't know, ideas or ways or on how we could do something different. And in the end, by chance, I discovered this transition town thing that just started in England. And yeah, I don't know exactly why, but I thought, okay, at least this is different. This is a completely different way to face the problem. Might not work again, but at least it's something I've never seen before. They are putting together different concepts, trying to find a completely different way to move around. And so I say, okay, let's try this. And my thought was that this was a very well-organized British thing with a lot of, I don't know, organization behind, power behind, and which was not the case. It was a bunch of funny guys just inventing everything from scratch. And that was my starting point. Because I was at least interested in do something and search for new tools, basically, because I think we need tools to interact with reality that are working for real in this world, not in an ideal situation where you have I don't know, perfect condition, the right people, the right amount of money. That's never happened. And this approach was interesting on that side. So we started here in Italy, and that is the beginning of the story.
I thought it was very interesting. You started with that human element, and you ended with that human element, and there was truly a continuum in that of what you were describing. There was, I think, there are a number of takeaways from that of what you mentioned, Cristiano. But one of them that I thought of immediately while you were telling your story was tied to something I read from Donella Meadows a number of years ago. And this is all tied to leverage points. And one of the issues that she wrote in a very matter-of-fact way, which I very much appreciated. But she talked about this counterintuitive way that we move towards leverage points. And I would be curious to get your opinion as to whether you've seen that type of activity within your endeavors.
Well, absolutely. So there's only human outside there. So, and this is the problem. We are the problem, the way we work and so on. So one of the elements that were very convincing in the transition approach to me was this really taking care of the systemic thinking problem of humans. So our brain didn't develop in that direction because it wasn't something particularly useful for our species in the past. I have a lot of materials of that, but basically we developed in a world that was very, very static in a way. Changes were very slow. So what was very important is to adapt to the current situation, to your context, to your people. And it wasn't particularly interesting for us to really understand how reality works. So this is the way our brain still works in a world where complexity was raised to a very, very high level by our action. So basically, which is the problem? We don't understand reality. And to simplify our life, we invented this reductionist way to face reality. And this is a big problem, because to save the energy of our the frontal cortex of our brain, which is so energy consuming, it's not very efficient, and it's a lot of energy to do the job was developed to do. So we want to take reality in little pieces, and the more we advance, and the smaller they are. So as always, we say now we have people knowing nearly everything of a very little piece of reality and ignoring all the huge rest. So systemic thinking is really, really, really important, and is something that we need to train on. So the problem is, if you are not trained to that since from the young age, then it's very, very difficult to move your attitude in this world, which is a word that we really refuse. I mean, I don't know if you are familiar with the chaos theory. When the chaos theory entered the realm of science, there was a huge resistance, because everyone couldn't say, no, this is not the way it works. But at the same time, no one wanted to face this fact that we don't have control of so many things. We don't have this capacity to take into account a huge number of variables to understand reality. And we have just to cope with that. No, there's no way. So introducing tools that help the human to create an interface with that was a huge thing from the 70s to now in the science way. But it was always very marginal, very in a corner of the system, because it was not convenient, and also it was a way to see that what we were doing was not doable, was not sustainable in the long run, was basically wrong for humanity, because it's a road that ends abruptly in a very bad way if we carry on this way. So one of the work I've been doing in the last 15, 16 years was to scout everything that was created around this. So how can we make our brain, our limited brain, to cope with this huge complexity of our reality in the everyday life? And that's the piece that was completely missing, because we had a lot of work on the high level theories, very elegant theories on all this. But then there was this problem, okay, now go to the office in the municipality or go to the office in your company and bring these ideas into what you have to do this morning, no? From now to lunchtime, no? And luckily, there was a lot. But it was quite hidden in little rooms of the system, very specialistic maybe, and not readily available to everyone. But we have a lot, and one of the job I've been doing in these years was to discover these little elements and to bring these elements into a system that you can use in your everyday life, and that you can use to involve everyone around you in a completely different process of dealing with reality, facing the problems we have, the small and the huge, and so on. It's just a big experiment, if you like. But it's really interesting, and it's a way to discover that, yes, what Donella Meadows and the group of MITs were exploring in the 70s, and what you see is that basically they understood a lot, and that the model that were so hardly criticized were in the end quite useful. They are not way to predict the future, but they are ways to inform you on a tendency of what can happen. So basically, which is the message is, yes, we have a lot to close this gap, this problem of our brain not being able to cope with what we can produce in reality. No, we have so much technology, so much energy available so far. It will be different in the future, but so far we had so many resources that we just created a system which is immensely complex, and at the same time we didn't develop a system to manage something like that in a proper way. So we are at risk all the time, and in the end what we are risking now is to just make this planet not a place for us anymore.
Do you see differences within a cultural framework when it comes to this emphasis? Very often I think about that Anglo-Saxon emphasis on efficiency and metrics and the like, and I'm not totally convinced that is deployed in all cultures. So I'd be curious on your opinion on that.
Well, the main difference I see is that in the Anglo-Saxon world, probably because the religion, I mean, the Catholic world has a religion that in the end says, okay, you did something wrong, but yeah, I can forgive you if you come to me and confess your sins. You will be saved somehow. So in the end, you can be very naughty. In the end, it will go okay anyway if you are very naughty. When you work with groups, for instance, you see this different in the Anglo-Saxon work, where or with the Hebrew, where there is a different in that. I mean, the responsibility is much more on you, and there is this last minute way to exit your thing. So you see models of society different for that, and this is my okay. I don't have a complete evidence on that, but this is my sensation. Then the problem is much more general. Is like the way I try. This is the problem of complex systems. They create their own intrinsic rules, and within that set of rules, principles, and everything, what can happen is always the same, in a way. The problem is most of those rules are completely hidden, or maybe it's better to say they are completely transparent. We don't see those as something influencing the final result of what we do. It's like the water for the fishes. No, it's there. You don't think that you have to do something about water. Water is there. Then within water you can do whatever you want. It depends on if you're good, if you're bad, or whatever. And this is not the case. And now we know it very, 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 very well. Even in the last, something that is very, very undervalued is that in the last 5 years, neurosciences developed an understanding on our way of working as human, which is completely revolutionizing our understanding on how we work. And we are not paying attention to that because we don't work the way we tell ourselves we work. And this is so important if we want to change our route, because we should understand what changing means for a human being. Because in the end, that is what rules the world, is our attitude of human beings. So the trick could be, I have to pay attention to some rules of the system and focusing on that, trying to do what I can do to modify that element. So the environment is the thing that then will move us into a different direction. Is the context altogether opening a way for something different? And this is not happening because maybe we want to be very efficient, we want to be quick, we want to set goals, set places where we want to be in a year or 20 years or whatever. But the basic thing in complex system is that you are not able to do that. There's no way. So once you understand this, what you should do, you should stop thinking like that and designing your way into a different realm in a completely different way. And this is what we call now stochastic design. But this is something that we do in our little environment, and that's it. Nobody else is trying to move this way, because the rest of the system is still working like that. If you take EU policies, are all designed this way, like, okay, from now to 2030, this must happen in this way and this other way. And then they complained because they say, oh, this didn't work. We set this goal and we didn't work. Since we decided to reduce our carbon emissions, the rise of the carbon emission was 60%, more or less. So it doesn't work. And we should know now that it doesn't. We have no excuse to carry on this way. But what we discovered working, for instance, with municipalities. So if you get to the condition to put together the local power, call it this way, no, local government or whatever, the local municipality council and so on, and maybe local activism, so association, and maybe local companies, no. You put them in the condition to understand the problem in general we have at local level, which is going to be a mix from local things, very local things happening there and maybe only there, and global things happening at upper levels that are coming to you from outside your community. Then what you discover, that you don't have in general the tools to interact with that. because all the rules of the system, all the legislation, all the way we make decisions, all the way we get together and we discuss together are designed within this system for this system. And if you don't change this water, which is around you, you will never get to the point to make the right decision or to do the right thing. You will always end up doing the things the system let you do because of the money available, because of the legislation that forces you into a certain direction, and so on. So one possibility is to make an agreement amongst all and start changing the water and using a different liquid. This is a way to explain. And this means to introduce a number of different elements that you mix together to create this different quality of water. So you have to put your hand on the way democracy works. You have to put, basically, you have the three elements that are the inspiration of transition. So head, heart, and hands, which means, head means you really have to connect to reality and understand reality the way it is, not the way we like to tell about reality, coming from our ideology, coming from our party way of describing reality, coming from our beliefs or whatever, but just stick to reality. So basically using the scientific methodology at its best to understand what you know, but not completely what you don't know, and having clarity on that altogether. The second element is taking in account that we are humans, and there's only humans. Maybe there is the mayor and there is the big boss of a company, or there is a volunteer or whatever. In the end, we are all humans, and we are 80% emotional confusion. So if you want to get somewhere which is logic and meaningful, you have to take care of this element of human beings. So the way we work, the way we react, and this a lot about the way we talk to each other, the way we create a safe space for our discussion, the timing we need to change, because again, neuroscientists are explaining very well now the way our brain needs to rewire when you need to move into a different attitude. And it takes time. The time is not the same for everyone. So you have to put this in your equation of things you do. And when you take care carefully of these two elements, you need to add something that helps you to make decision, focusing on the meaning of the decision and not on who you are, how powerful you are, or your secret agenda or whatever, but on what the fuck are we trying to do? Sorry for the bad word, but this is never the case in our system. Very, 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 very often. This really comes from my experience with the banks, because sometimes I saw them making decisions that were horribly risky, for instance, without really acknowledging that how big was that way to face the problem, how risky it was for millions of people around them. So that's in the end, if you manage to take together these two first elements, head and heart, and in the end you will see the end moving. So we can end up doing things that are meaningful and that bring us a step forward toward just transition, call it. So something which is solving our huge problem that we have, or at least limiting the damage, because we are in this stage. Unfortunately, some of the things that we started in the past now are there, and we can't really wipe them away. in a minute. We have to adapt. We have to face that things are going to change deeply. And so we can start doing things on that direction without thinking that we can plan exactly from now to 30 years, because we can, but just adapting day by day, I would say, all our action toward that direction. And this is what we call stochastic design. So keeping up a system and an attitude that has the ability to spot every new possibility toward that direction. Even if you have a plan on your paper, you must be ready to change the plan every day, because the world around us is changing every day, and today even more than before. So every day you get up and there's a new war, or something happened and the Suez Canal is not more available because there's no water anymore, or whatever. And so you need to be able to manage the situation on the go. And our systems are not designed for that. So we end up dealing with emergency every day and put it patches every day. And then we complain, okay, things are getting worse and worse and worse, and we are not proceeding. So this is, yeah, my experiment, the experiment that we can try.
We keep thinking that change is linear, and it's anything but linear. And I'm just piggybacking on that of what you were talking about, Cristiano. One of the questions I always pose to myself as to how we got to this point of thinking a certain way, which is very much tied to this linear approach. Do you believe that this is something that we are born with, or do you feel that this is a conditioning that's taken place?
Well, I strongly suggest everyone to read Sapolsky's book. In particular, just published Determined, which is the topics there is free will in general. But within that book, there are so many very detailed explanations on our brain work. And that's so interesting, because it explains so much on how we do things. And everything now, after that, everything is, now I understand why we are so stupid in a way, and why we end up doing silly things in our personal lives, even when it's so evident that you are doing something which is not good for you. Why we can't stop smoking, why we can't, I mean, there are things that seem so simple, and we can't really save ourselves from those attitudes, and it reflects in what we do as a society. So understanding better how we work, it's so relieving also, because it takes away from you this sort of sense of guilt, or we are just evolved apes with a lot of problem in our engine, and yeah, okay, forgive yourself, you're made like that by nature, so on. But yeah, what we can do is to take in account all that, and creating these spaces where this change is not difficult at all, because in the small scale we did it a lot, and we could say it works every time you change this water in the bowl. You see the same people that were fighting before, the same people that were going into a very nasty direction. You see the same people moving around sense making, and some of the elements that we normally consider a problem to fix, like we have different values among us. We have different way to see the world. We are from the right, we are from the left, no? And very often we feel, how can we reconciliate, put together these two positions in a way that we end up doing something useful for all? It seems very difficult, because we keep playing the same game, no? We keep doing the war in the end. All the way we deal with decision making is very, very connected in avoiding to kill each other. No, our democracy, it's a way to avoid to start a war every 5 minutes, as it was in the past. More that than getting to the best decision, no, or getting to the common good, is a step toward the common good, toward moving from different groups fighting each other for resources, for power, or whatever. It was a good step, but probably it's time in our evolution history to do another step and find ways to focus on what we really need now, no? Okay, not fighting a war every 5 minutes is nice. Maybe we can go even better than down, considering also that we are starting a war every 5 minutes. Despite all we did, we thought that Europe was safe from war forever, and then we see now that, I mean, Ukraine and Russia and all the consequences, Finland starting a new army to defend themselves from Russia, and so we are back in the past immediately. What was very striking, another haha moment for me and the people working for me, was when we visited this town in Sweden that is called Växjö, is in the south of, because they were practically solving the problem in a very, very, yes, practical way, very, very direct. So they had a very big problem with the lakes. The town is on a lake. The lake was horribly polluted, stinking in a horrible way. Basically, it was impossible to live in the vicinity of the lake. So it was a problem affecting everyone, no? The rich, the poor, everyone. So they had this very, very strong driver to find a solution, which was a solution. So not a nice fairy tale on how it could be, but we have to solve that. And they created this space in the government of the city, where they decided to make decision using completely different rules. This was something like 35 or maybe now 40 years ago. And it worked so well. And it was so easy. So they created a room. It wasn't a room, but a space where they said, okay, within the space, stop fighting for the left, for the right. We have a number of elements that we want to see in a different way. Quality of the water, quality of the air, and so on. They determined a number of indicators of the state of the system. And within that space, everyone was going there to solve the problem, to find the solution to the problem. And the focus was on the meaning of what they were doing. And it lasted for a long period of time. Within the space, they could think looking very far in the future, but without forcing themselves within a perfect plan to get there. So staying open and working as you should do in the complex system, with trial and errors. It was very nice because they told us, we brought a number of Italian mayors to this place to show them how they were dealing with everything. And they were really shocked And they were so amazed by this way, because when you're a manager and you are there trying to help your community, okay, if you are there just because you want to be a manager and you don't care about your community, it's a different problem. But if you are seeing that there are ways to move in a different way and to really interact with reality and solve the problem, they were completely amazed by that. And they were so happy to see that, okay, this can be done in this planet now, not something, we just basically copied this kind of way. So within a community, you can create a space, changing the water of the space, changing the rule of the space, and start planning in a completely different way for going for meaning, going for what is really needed now. And now we have so many things that are so evident. I don't know where in your country, but in Italy, we have huge problems with agriculture, drought, floods. It's all very material. It's all very real. It's touching people. We have problems with economy, with tourism. We have things that are so evident, no? And we are keeping not facing that with a meaning, but facing that with ideologies. Oh, the world should be like that. Oh, the world, no, it should be in this different way. But we are not finding a way to make the right decisions. And unfortunately, the different flavors of the representative democracy that we have now are not able to solve this problem, because the logic of majority doesn't work when you have to focus on the meaning. It makes no sense.
The example you gave from Sweden for me was a great example of how leverage points are used properly, because you took the easiest thing to do with the biggest impact and you pushed everything else to the side. That's something that I feel like especially when you open up your eyes, you see these things. If you are not aware, then you don't see them. And I'm just taking something from that of what you said earlier. I've come to the conclusion that for the most part, we only talk about the symptoms. We never really focus on the root cause of why things are happening. And one of the things that you talked about was tied to change and taking it in a very practical way. One of the problems that I think that we have, be it in our society or perhaps in business and the like, is not necessarily that people are against change per se. The real problem is they do not feel that they're very afraid that they will not be able to manage the change. So in other words, they cannot see themselves after the change is taking place and that it's an improvement in their life. So I would be curious, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I would be keen on finding out from your perspective how something like that would be approached.
Yeah, the way is the same. I mean, change for humans is not a problem. I couldn't be in the advertisement word, which is basically convincing people to do stupid things with no benefit all the time. And apparently you can do it. And it's easy. So change is not the problem, is the quality of the change and the environment around the change. So if you feel your word will disappear and there's no more space for you because you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your salary, you're going to lose. If this is the way I'm bringing to you the change hypothesis, of course you will be resistant to that. And in a society that was created, I mean, to keep our market up, you need to make people as a very, very lonely. No, you need to isolate people from the context, and you need to make them feeling worried and alone and without support, and so on. This is the way we raise the market, providing them false solution, no, to all the problem that you create with this kind of insulation of people. So if you do the opposite, if you create this space where everyone is starting to pay attention to the context and understanding that we are all there to produce a change which is sustainable for everyone. Why is sustainable for everyone? Because using, for instance, instead of the majority, the vote to make a decision, if you use the sociocracy 3.0 methodology, which means that everyone which is involved in a decision has the power to interfere with the decision. So immediately you understand that there's no way to cancel your job from, I don't know, from the top of the system. Somebody decided to close my company because it's polluting, and my job will disappear, my future is no more, and because I'm part of the process. So everyone start to think, okay, maybe I'm doing a job that maybe is not disappearing this year, but it will disappear in a certain number of years anyway, because there's no future for this. Can we plan for an exit to that, a transformation of what I do, a change which is protected, a change that the society as a whole understands and try to. I give you a very simple example. Here in my place, in my municipality, I have a huge company that produces disposable plastic things. Okay? Is there a future for that?
Hopefully not.
We are serving half Europe with that stuff. So maybe there is a niche where this can be there, because I don't know, medics stuff that need to be sterilized and not reused. So there might be something on that side. But of course, if this entrepreneur is left alone with a future not existing, with the EU legislation basically saying, okay, you have to die, you and the 2,000 people working for you have to die. How do they feel? They will try to resist. They will try to fight. Doesn't matter if it's bad for their children. Doesn't matter if they have to solve the day-by-day problem. They have to solve the problem with the banks, with money, with everything. It's completely different if you, as a community, it would be nice as a state, it would be nice as a EU community, you take care of that, because it's not their problem, it's our problem. It's a social thing. It's the social body that should say, okay, we all went in the wrong direction. We are all responsible of that, because we drank in plastic glasses, we ate in plastic dishes, and we were happy to throw everything away in the end because it was easy, it was quick. So it can't be their problem. Okay, now you disappear because you are bad. From now you are bad. It must be something that we all together face and find a solution, find a transition to something different. But this is not possible if you use the decision-making way we use within the current rules. It will never happen that way in a meaningful, for everyone, good way. I worked a lot with the don't know the word in English, unions,
Yep.
those representing. I had a lot of conversations with unions. And what they say, oh, we are here to fight because we want to keep all these occupied people occupied. And that's our task. And then you say, okay, you are keeping them occupied in something that will disappear for many reasons that you can't control at all, okay? This will disappear. Do you think they are happy to stay there because they really love that kind of job in the foundry or whatever, and they can't stay out of the foundry? They want a salary, they want a normal life, so you have to start planning for a transition, not just defending the position the way it is for the sake of defending of the position or your own salary as a unionist, because of course if they disappear, you will disappear. But we don't have spaces designed to do that in our systems. No, we have spaces designed to fight. We always say we have to confront. No, the union will confront the government. This will confront. We fight. We want to win our battle. You know, our brains are still there in the world war paradigm, and if you don't shift away from that, you will end up doing the same stuff again and again and again, then complaining, oh, how we are in this bad situation. But instead, what we know is that it's not so difficult to create these spaces where you change the rule of the game, and then changes become possible because you are playing a completely different game. The problem I see is that we need people prepared to, I don't know, to create this kind of space, and we are not creating this kind of people.
I agree wholeheartedly. Earlier, you mentioned when you were describing the Catholic Church, and you were saying that the big difference is, of course, then you can act naughty and you will be forgiven. And so within that paradigm, we are talking about some sort of forgiveness that's coming from the outside. If you are a CEO of a company and you are confronted with a situation like this, and you are thinking constantly, I need to succeed, this is part of my role, I question to what degree whether the issue is tied to self-forgiveness, tied to the idea that we are able to say, yes, it didn't work out, instead of actually plodding along, thinking, well, all we just need to do is try harder, which is a very Anglo-Saxon thing again, that we just try harder because we didn't try hard enough, whereas that's not the issue at all. The issue is something completely different. So I'd be curious, from your perspective, to what degree do you see that self-acceptance, self-forgiveness as being part of this paradigm?
Well, the problem is you have no choice, no, as an entrepreneur, because when your business hit the crisis, you look around, and all around you have people saying to you, "Oh, fight back." No, that's a possibility. Or you failed. Okay, leave it. You failed, and then not compassion. During the crisis of 2008, I did a lot of company euthanasia, because I was doing a lot of conferences at that time, and I had a lot of people coming to the transition. We call the transition talks, no? Very often in the transition talk audience, there were entrepreneurs with a big crisis. And after that, they were contacting me in private, asking, can I talk to you? Because if I talk to my wife, the problem is I'm not bringing home the money I was bringing before. If I talk to my consultant, it says, oh, you have to protect yourself. If I talk to my bank, banker says, oh, you have to sell your property to fill the hole. And if I talk to my employees, they say I'm a bastard because, so can I talk to you? And I did some of these activities, like creating for them a way out, understanding what the problem is, understanding responsibility, because it's not about, okay, it's not my responsibility at all. No, very often, yes, it's also your responsibility. You didn't pay attention to this, but also getting to the point to forgive yourself in a good way. It's not, I go at the end of the run and somebody will give me, I don't know, go in peace and I will be saved. It's about really understanding what happened, really understanding which is my responsibility, doing my best to cover the position I should cover, but then ending up as a human being, which is still valuable, we're still human, and connection with other human beings. This dimension is completely absent in our system. Where is that? Okay, maybe you can go to a psychiatric or psychologist that can help you, and it will help you in a professional way. Is not creating a human space where things are really dealt with at the human level. No, despite your rank, despite your status, despite your role in society or your role in the company. And I think this is the solution, and it's not difficult at all. It's just making these spaces available.
You described a person who was very lonely.
We all are. This is the way you can sell things to people. If you analyze the way we do advertisement, it's very often, I throw to you a problem because I want to sell you the solution. Okay? It's a very simple mechanism. We have many leverage in the human psychologists, they call it, but basically the way we function, because in the end it's all chemical, it's all hormone and genes reacting to a certain stimulus coming from outside, and we know very well how to use it. No, because it's simple, because it's so rooted in us. We have organs that are so powerful. The amygdala is there since from, I mean, the beginning of the time, and is doing his job, is incredibly reactive and quick, and is the one making decision, hippocampus and so on. The frontal cortex is trying to make sense of that, but normally after the decision was taken in a different space. So now we know that the more you put pressure on those organs, the more they become reactive, and the more they push you into a particular direction. This is the part of the context reacting with the part of your biological thing that creates the way you react or you act in this world. There was that's why I was really suggesting to read this thick and very boring book, because it really explains to you why things are always going in a certain way. So we are lonely, and we wanted to have people completely encapsulated in void to push the market, because that's a very, very, very functional way to sell apparent solutions to people. We have to move to a different way to interact, something that maybe never happened before. So this really about evolution of our species, because there is this other temptation saying, "Oh no, once upon a time we were so good, we were so united, we were." I don't know. I don't know. Tribal, native. I mean, surely they have a completely different attitude toward things. The way they lived, they selected them in a certain way. But we are at a point of our evolution that we understand so well all this that we can really try to do it on purpose. We just decide to create a completely different way to interact among each other and to create this space where I want to say there is something saying happiness is maybe too much. Happiness is maybe always, and it will always be only a moment. But what we can to be content of what you have.
That's the word. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Takeaway for me in our discussions, I think very often about the dispositional. We were born this way, not necessarily from a physical perspective, but our composition, or situational. Because of the situation that we land into, we can expect certain behaviors. But you talked quite a distance about this physical component that would either be part of the neural networks or whatever it may be. If you were to take these three components, I think I already know the answer, the dispositional, the situational, and the neurological, would you say that one has an emphasis over the others, or would you say that it's a mixture of all three?
It's a complete mixture, and that's why this very original intuition of Rob Hopkins when I mean, this idea of head, heart, hands was put together in a completely naive way. So not big thought behind that, just a great intuition. That is the way to simplify the formula. You really need to put together all these different elements. And that's why also you need to put together all the different tools that we are keeping selecting, because they are taking care of the different aspects of the different way things evolve in our being humans, and they really help and they really work. And I think we've never been there with this kind of understanding, never been there before. And we've never been in the position to have so much power to change things also in a material way, because we will keep having energy for a number of years. Still, we are very, very late, but still we can do a lot. And that's the way it gives me a little bit of hope. I don't like hope. Hope is something, because hope, okay, but there's a little bit of hope in that, because I see the condition we have now are unique. So it's up to us to understand that and make this decision to take advantage of that and move into a way to live on this planet, which is a content way, a happy way for everyone, which is feasible. That's the thing. It's still feasible, even today, even in the situation so crushed with climate that we don't know where we are going, and environment. But we also have a lot of signals. We saw during the pandemic, you leave the natural system alone, for 1 year only, and they rebuild themselves at a speed that no one imagined before. So all this is there to say, okay, why not? Why not? Okay. I don't know.